Hey everybody, this is CryptoRobert here. Probably wondering what am I doing walking around my neighborhood. Actually, I haven't gone to the gym in a really long time, man. Just feeling a little bit out of shape. So this goes to show you what happens when you get stuck in work in this crypto world and making videos. You just kind of forget about doing the stuff that actually matters, like eating good and getting exercise and all that. So it's April. I only got a couple of months to get to that beach bod, get my six-pack going on. Just kidding, I actually never had a six-pack. More like a one-pack, you know what I mean? Just kind of like one flabby white belly. Well, here I am, finally back on the treadmill. When I walked into the gym, I asked the front clerk, the man at the front clerk, "Hey man, when was the last time I was here?" He looked at his computer and he's like, January 9th. I'm like, oh my goodness. Today's April the 9th. That means I have not been to the gym in like 3 months? Seriously.
You serious?
Yes. You know, 3 months. That's about the time, just about the same amount of time that Crypterra hasn't paid anybody. To be more specific, Crypterra hasn't paid anybody one Satoshi, one Bitcoin, or Ethereum, or Litecoin since January 22nd. So, guess what today's video is about? Crypterra finally scams out.
No. That's a scam!
So here we are, guys, once again on the Crypterra Twitter page, waiting and waiting and waiting, and we've been all waiting since March the 9th. Over 1 month now for Crypterra to update us. They said that technical works were finished, that updates were installing, that we'd be able to withdraw our funds, that we'd be able to purchase new contracts, that they would have all their problems and bags and technical things finished. It's all lies.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Yes. They sit and are sitting on a throne of lies, indeed. Throne of lies? That's some pretty harsh words coming from the likes of me. Why do I say that? Well, I've done quite a lot of videos on Crypterra. If you've been watching this channel for the last couple of months, back on December 27th, 2017, I did my first video on Crypterra. Yeah, that video right there, guys. On December 27th, I did my first video on Crypterra. I was introducing it to my YouTube audience as a viable alternative to Hashflare. You see, at the time, actually in the comments section, let me just pop this up a little bit here, that 250 gigahashes on Crypterra was $55, which represented quite a deal over Hashflare, which was significantly more money. Now, of course, with the the bear market and Bitcoin on Hashflare, to buy 250 gigahashes is only $30. But back in December, put this all in context, all the mining companies were increasing their prices. And I was doing my research and looking for different companies, and through a Twitter post back in December, I discovered Crypterra, did some investigation, as you know, did some communicating with the folks that were running Crypterra, was not entirely happy with their lack of transparency, and in fact, from my description, it kind of says it all here. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. Let me just highlight it. Okay, Crypterra.net is a new crypto cloud mining company that began in operation in July 2017, offering very attractive cloud mining plans for Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Monero, and Zcash. Crypterra may be a viable alternative to Hashflare and Genesis mining, or it may not be, ... considering the lack of transparency as to who the owners of Crypterra are and where the actual mining is being conducted. Everyone should be extremely cautious when making a decision to purchase any cloud mining contracts with them. So, that being said, I reiterated my what I wrote here, also in the video, that extreme caution would be necessary, because when you don't know who the players are, who the people are, where they're mining from, and you have to guess what country they're from, those are huge red flags. So, what went wrong? Well, everything went fine for a long time. And since Crypterra was operating since July 2017, I figured, well, they passed a couple of tests already of longevity. Usually scams like, or cloud mining scams, run just a couple of weeks to a couple of months. For example, I did my last video on Ekin.io, and just after a few short weeks of them opening, I visited their Facebook page to discover people complaining of not getting paid for a couple of weeks now, or so. So Ekin.io was a classic cloud mining scam. But as I discovered and did some research with Cloud mining, Ekin.io, I noticed a lot of similarities with Crypterra. Now, it's not. I'm not saying that Ekin.io or all these other scam cloud mining companies are related to Crypterra, but they do have a couple of things in common. For example, in the very beginning, Crypterra was communicating with all their customers. I was able to have a nice back and forth chat a couple of times with the people running Crypterra, or who I thought were running Crypterra, only to have that cease and stop, and the communication failed. On Ekin.io, I was chatting back and forth with these people, wanting to know where they were from. They were very responsive. They had a live chat, and that stopped. They removed their live chat feature, and they no longer communicate with anybody. They've also stopped paying people, and Crypterra stopped paying people as well. Now, the difference between Crypterra and other companies like Ekin.io and Space Mining and all these other fake cloud mining platforms is that Crypterra was continuing to reach out to their customers via their Twitter page. Crypterra's Twitter page had their first tweet on August the 4th, 2017, and their last tweet to date was March the 9th, 2018, just over a month ago. And then things started to go south pretty quickly, starting around January 20th. They announced that they were hardly working on fixing some bugs on our website. We know it's kind of a joke now in the Crypterra community that Crypterra is always working on some kind of technical bug or bugs. So when people weren't getting paid, the payments were really slowing down to a crawl. And we thought, well, at the time, these things happen. At least I thought, technical problems happen in any business, and let's give them the benefit of the doubt. And so we all did. Then on January 24th, they tweeted that their website was down, unannounced. No, they didn't tell anybody that it was going to go down, and it went down. That caused us all to freak out a lot. But they were sorry for the inconvenience. So when you say you're sorry, I guess it's helpful, I guess. Then on January 26th, the website was back up and running. They were so sorry once again for the delay. They even put in a new security pin feature, which when we enabled, prevented us or would prevent us from withdrawing our money for around 15 days. Okay, they didn't tell us that, but we figured having that security pin was a step in the right direction. Okay, we see all along they're making these incremental changes. So we're believing, yeah, these guys, they're coming back online. Crypterra is coming back online. Our money is just around the corner. And then the mother of all tweets came on February 7th when China was banning Bitcoin mining. Oh no!
What?
In fact, they linked to a Google Plus page. Due to China's taking steps to eliminate the bitcoins in their territory because it was consuming too much electricity, that Crypterra had to move. In fact, now they're going on record here. If you just take a look here, because of these actions, the management of our company decided to move the data center from China to another country. Notice it didn't say which country, but they were admitting at least that they were in China all along. Or were they? We'll never really know, won't we? We'll also never really know where they sent all their equipment, because they never told us which country they were going to. We assumed it was Canada. Maybe, maybe not. Again, we really don't know. This is Crypterra after all. Truth is relative. Crypterra, realizing that all of the shenanigans they're pulling are making people freak out night and day, is trying to assuage our concerns with another dear friend tweet. Dear friends, we understand your emotions and disquiet, but we want to assure you that it remains to wait a very short time before launching our website. We apologize and look forward to your understanding. Just a few short words and all is forgiven among the Crypterra investors, or so they thought, really. Meanwhile, a slow and quiet rebellion has been brewing among the Crypterra investors. More on that in a moment. But then, in an effort to make certain they're getting on our good side for pissing us off for several weeks of non-payment, Crypterra dangling the carrot as ever in front of us with a new website and promised that within 48 hours to 72 hours, the new website will be fully operational. Yes, we're finally going to get paid just in a few days, or maybe in a week, with Crypterra time being as it is. So we were calmed down a little bit more. After all, let's see what this new website is all about. Then finally on February 10th, the new website was finished. They said, thank you for understanding. We've added Bitcoin Cash and Dash, and they've made some improvements on the website, and that you'll be able to get into the new client panel real soon. Well, they put up their website, their new X mining / Crypterra website, and it was just basically a template, as we know, a template that they bought probably for $10, $15 and put up some basic information, and it's completely non-functioning and useless.
What a piece of junk.
They took all of their old information from their Crypterra website and put it on the new website, and there's absolutely no way to purchase any contracts. And there was no way to get any of our money. So when we eventually were able to sign into our client or our cabinet or customer cabinet, it was completely useless because all we're seeing is our balance, but no way to get the money out. The reason why we couldn't get our money out, they said in there, again, another tweet from the same day, that due to the large amount of data that needs to be processed, it would take 10 to 15 hours to recalculate all the balances and be able to get our money. Okay. Whew, we're getting closer. We're getting closer to our money, right? And on February 11th, the reason why we couldn't get our money out of the new users cabinet because there was some kind of a misconfiguration with their SSL certificate. Oh, I tell you, at this point, we're all like, oh, this is absolutely ridiculous. We are never seeing any of our money. And yet, we were all collectively trying to hold out a little bit of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to get our money and that they're not completely scamming all of us. Then on March 1st, after not tweeting for several weeks, they say that the technical works are finished and that within the next 72 hours, we'll be able to purchase new contracts and get our money. Oh, yes, finally, a little bit of those of us that have invested in Crypterra. Could this be true? Could we finally be getting our money? Could we? In another tweet from the same day on March 1st, they're saying we're apologizing for all this inconvenience, and that there'll be a data center video. We'll be able to see everything and get a full report. Then I reached out to Crypterra, tweeted to them like, hey, can I get an interview with you guys? I think it would be really good if you can explain everything for my YouTube audience. And then Crypterra responded, could not believe it. Yes, our manager will contact you for the interview and describe the whole situation about what happened with their hardware movement, their payouts, their plans for the future, etc. And I was so happy. Like, yes, Crypterra, they're legitimate after all. They're going to explain everything to CryptoRobert. Oh, what a moron I am.
You remember how dumb I used to be?
Yeah?
Well, I'm better now.
Well, I'm certainly glad to hear it.
Think about this, guys. Crypterra has been stringing us along for months now with all these promises. Have they told a single truth since January to any of us? No. Yes, they promised a new website, and sure, they put up a fake new website, but they promised the payout. They promised giving us their money. They promised the ability to purchase new contracts. False, 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 false. All falsehoods here. Okay? We're seeing a common theme with Crypterra, or whoever's running Crypterra.
The great Oz has spoken.
Oh,
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. The great Oz has spoken.
Who are you?
oh I am the great and powerful. Who is it?
And if you don't believe me that Crypterra is a scam, well, their last tweet was over a month ago. And this is what they said on March 9th. That technical works are finished. Updates are installing now. You'll be able to withdraw your funds, purchase new contracts, and use all other features when installation will finish. Sorry for the delay and thank you for your patience. Well, that is obviously not true. There were no technical works. They haven't finished anything. Nothing was installed. Because if this was true, we'd all be making money. We'd have our contracts. We'd have made probably all of our money that we originally invested. At least some of us would have anyway. So what is the takeaway here? What is the key takeaway? That Crypterra was playing the long con. Yes, they may have started out legitimate long ago, back last year, with a couple of mining rigs. But somewhere along the way, things went south for these guys. They might have expanded too soon. They might have overextended themselves. They might have gotten involved with some really bad people. I really don't know. For all we know, Crypterra could be just one dude somewhere sitting in a coffee shop in Moscow or Jakarta or Cairo, whoever. Seriously, we don't know exactly who is behind Crypterra. Now, that's not stopping a lot of folks from investigating into Crypterra and who they are. But I will tell you, folks, despite the efforts of a few people that have invested in Crypterra, the odds are really stacked against any of us from finding out who the operators of Crypterra really are. So, you might be one of the many hundreds of disgruntled Crypterra investors, people who put in $100 to $1,000 or more dollars and got nothing back in return, or very little, and you're wondering, what can I do about it? Well, I said a moment ago that there's probably very little one can do, but it hasn't stopped a group of investors from Crypterra, at least from trying to reach out and do some investigating. I was reached out to on someone on Twitter. This was brought to my attention that this group of Crypterra investors reached out to a private investigation company called Hudson Intelligence, based in New York State. They have a license in New York State and Ohio. And their page here, this Crypterra investigation retainer, they're collecting $100 and with the goal of getting about $5,000 to do preliminary investigative work here. Let me just read you the basics of what this project is about here. It says the general background. We have conducted a preliminary assessment of Crypterra and over due diligence revealed multiple indicators of a potential international investment fraud scheme. Our initial research yielded provisional identification of an individual potentially responsible for operating and promoting Crypterra. For present purposes, we will refer to this individual as R. Shelley. Okay, that's not the person's name. They're using an alias or whatever. They need to have some kind of a made-up name to use for, again, the purposes of this document. It says his social media, or her, maybe, his or her social media profile photo was associated with the earliest known promotions of Crypterra in posts on online forums that did not include referral links, which suggests the person promoting the site would have potentially benefited directly from investments in Crypterra. Similar conclusions were reached by others in the Telegram investor group who corresponded with Hudson Intelligence, resulting in the proposed investigation. So what is the scope of the investigation? Let me scroll down. The purpose of the investigation is to investigate allegations of investment fraud regarding Crypterra and attempt to verify the extent of involvement of R. Shelley. Conduct due diligence on R. Shelley to develop relevant information on his professional credentials and personal background, including criminal history and any pattern of past involvement in promoting similar schemes. conduct an admission-seeking interview of R. Shelley to obtain further confirmation of his role in Crypterra, and to present a formal demand for immediate return of client funds. Provide a written report of our findings. If close affiliation between R. Shelley and Crypterra is confirmed, but the demands for full return of investor funds are not satisfied, we will be glad to coordinate our findings with the client's legal counsel and appropriate law enforcement and regulatory agencies. And it mentions the budget is $5,000, and they're hoping to get enough investors to, or at least people, enough of these $100 investments to get it done. Well, you're probably wondering, where's my stand on all this? I'm actually not affiliated with the Telegram group Crypterra or anyone that's investigating the fraud claims, because it's pretty much a fruitless effort. Because if this is a real criminal, and apparently, and I'm assuming that this is an individual knows what they're doing, it would be extremely, extremely difficult to find such R. Shelley or whoever the person may be. And even if you were to track down this individual, it could be in any country, there is probably no way you can encourage that person to return the funds, because the funds actually have been dispersed to dozens and dozens of different wallet addresses. This was also brought to my attention by someone doing some investigating on a Reddit forum. They were able to take the transaction ID from money they sent to Crypterra, and they followed the wallet where the money went from one wallet address to another. And let me just show you that right now. Today on Twitter, someone sent me this tweet. It says, if you want to see where Crypterra moved the Bitcoin, check out this chart. It's blockseeker.com. I have it loaded up here. And what this, let's not get intimidated here. What this is just basically a graph or a chart following the money. So let me zoom in a little bit here, if I can. Let me just zoom in. Now, back at the end of January, Crypterra had 222 Bitcoin in their wallet address. The person on Reddit was able to follow the transaction from their wallet to a Crypterra Bitcoin address, and from that Crypterra Bitcoin address to this Crypterra Bitcoin address here, where it starts in above me here, where it starts in 1GJ. So from here, these 222 Bitcoins are split up into dozens of different wallets. So if I scroll out a little bit, so this one here got 3 Bitcoin, this wallet here got 2, and goes all the way down. If I scroll all the way out again, you can see the progression here. So for example, here there was 176 Bitcoin in this wallet, and then 10 were deposited here in this. Now there's 166. 10 were deposited in this address. Now there's 156, and so on until all the way you get down to the very bottom of this tree here, and down to where there's 4 and half a Bitcoin, and so on. So you have to ask yourself this question: if Crypterra, if you still feel that Crypterra is a legitimate operation, why go to the trouble of taking those 222 Bitcoins and dispersing them into 50 some odd different Bitcoin wallets? There's only one reason for that. You're trying to hide the money. But here's the funny thing. You know, Bitcoin, by its very nature, is a public ledger. It's a decentralized public ledger. Everyone can see what is in a Bitcoin wallet. So that 222 Bitcoin, everyone can see where exactly, which wallet address those Bitcoins wound up in. So the criminal is going to have a hard time, or whoever took all that money, eventually they're going to have a hard time cashing out that Bitcoin. They got to figure out a way of transforming that into fiat currency. But as far as the identity of who is holding these wallets, no one can really know due to the nature of Bitcoin wallets. It's very difficult to actually know who actually owns these Bitcoin wallets. So that's the situation that we're in here with Crypterra right now. It doesn't look very good at all. It looks like we've all been scammed. Every single last one of us has been scammed in one way, shape, or form by Crypterra. So you might be wondering, where do we all go from here? Well, there's not a lot of choices we got, folks. We can't magically make Crypterra come back online and start paying us. It just doesn't work like that. I also wanted to say I'm really sorry for anybody who watched one of my videos and found out about Crypterra in the first place and put some money in and now doesn't have anything to show for it. A lesson is that whoever you watch on YouTube, whether it's me or some other guy or supposed guru, you need to do your own homework and make your own assessment as to whether or not cloud mining company or another business is good. Because I'm not a perfect guy. I make mistakes, and my own viewpoints about things are clouded by my own experiences. Early on, the lack of transparency with Crypterra should have been a red flag, but it wasn't. I run some businesses where I'm a drop shipper, and it doesn't really matter where I'm located, so I was applying that same logic to Crypterra. It didn't really matter what country they were operating as long as we got our Bitcoin. But that only works so far, because in my business, if somebody doesn't get their products, they can charge back their credit card and I don't get any of that money. Okay, so I have a really seriously vested interest in providing my customers with the products that they ordered. And when it comes to a cloud mining, a Bitcoin operation, there is no physical product. It's this, electronic currency. And you never really know, unless you know the location of where they're mining, unless you see the photos, unless you see the people behind the company, you really never know if the Bitcoin that they're sending you is actually the result of a mining operation or a Ponzi scheme. And obviously, the way things have worked out for Crypterra, the balance is tipped in favor of them as being a scam from the very beginning. Of course, I can't say that with 100% certainty with 100% accuracy that they were a scam from day one. They may have been a scam from day one, or they may not have been a scam. The bottom line is we don't have any of our money. Their actions as of late, or inactions, are really condemning them and are leading all of us to have lost complete and utter faith in getting our money back and in whatever Crypterra says. So even after this video posts and Crypterra tweets and it says a few more things, just ignore their tweets. Don't get any false hopes up, because they're just playing with us. They're gaslighting us. They're making us really go a little bit crazy over the last couple of weeks with these tweets and telling us things and promising things and really not delivering. So you're probably wondering, why am I not joining in the effort to bring these guys to justice? Because frankly, my time is better spent elsewhere. If I lost a few $100s or even a few $1,000s, I know that the amount of effort and time and patience is going to be many, many years. And frankly, that amount of dollars that I lost, I'd be spending more time and money on that, trying to get back what is lost, which I may never get back, when I can be pursuing things that actually make money, growing my own business, other business ventures, other operations. So there's an expression, it's an old one, it goes back to the Bible. There's a time to seek and a time to give up what is sought. So I'm giving up all hope of Crypterra paying any of us. It's sad, of course, but it's a reality check. We need to all collectively just move on, leave Crypterra behind, and I've learned quite a bit. And the same criterion I've learned over the last several weeks and several months about what constitutes a legitimate company and what's a fake company is going to be used to inform all of my videos. So hopefully there won't be any Crypterras in the future where I get tricked and pass along information that is actually not 100% beneficial for all of my viewers. So I guess that's a kind of an apology in a way. Really sorry for people who have lost money. But again, never invest more money than you can afford to lose. I lose money regularly in business. People defraud me from their credit cards, so I'm kind of used to losing money on a regular basis, and as much as I hate that, I know that it's part of life in this world, and maybe Crypterra is the first time you've actually been defrauded, and it feels really bad, and you really want to scream and hold these people to a justice and accountability, but unfortunately, and you're gonna think this is kind of like a really horrible thing to say, but life is not fair. I mean, you look around, you look at the news, you see what's going on, and you realize that bad people get away with things, right? So rather than just me getting all angry and yelling and screaming and trying to get every last dollar or dime or Satoshi that's owed me, I need to realize that there's better uses of my time. There's better uses for all of our time collectively. So that's all I've got to say about Crypterra. I will never do another video again on Crypterra. So if anybody in the future, viewers, want another video, it's going to get ignored. There is really zero reason why anyone, myself included, would do another video on Crypterra. It's a scam. It was something that we thought was real. We put a little faith in. We made some money, some of us lost money from day one. Really sorry about that, but that's part of this investing. And hopefully we'll see a lot of winners in the future, although the way things are going with the cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, we're in this bear market. Real legitimate opportunities to make money are getting exceedingly rarer. So that's the reason why there's so many scams popping up. So you're gonna see more of my scam out videos, more videos warning people away from certain programs that are obvious scams, and maybe some that are not so obvious. So that's all I've got to say. Be careful, watch your Bitcoin, and see you in my next video, guys. Bye.